Pied Piper strategy just briefly. This is out of Salon, written by the great Ben Norton. How the Hillary Clinton campaign deliberately elevated Donald Trump with its Pied Piper strategy. Now, a lot of people are unaware of this, and people need to realize this because it's still going on. As I mentioned, as we started here, they're doing it in New Hampshire. What they're doing is people are donating to the DNC. The DNC, the Democrats, are giving the money, they're giving their support to these Republican conservative candidates, thinking it'll be easier for their nominee, for their Democrat to defeat in primaries and elections. For God's sake, like I said, what could go wrong with this? Well, 2016 went wrong. You turn on television tonight, everybody's talking about Donald Trump. Everybody's lost their mind over Donald Trump. This isn't the only reason that Trump came into power, but it's part of the reason. In its self-described Pied Piper strategy, picked a peck of pickled peppers, the Clinton campaign proposed intentionally cultivating extreme right-wing presidential candidates. Yeah, hoping to turn them into the new mainstream of the Republican Party in order to increase Clinton's chances of winning. The Clinton campaign and Democratic National Committee called for using far-right candidates as a cudgel to move the more established candidates further to the right. Yeah, we talk about that all the time on podcasts by George. Now they're so far right on the political platform, they've jumped off and ran over the horizon. Clinton's camp insisted that Trump and other extremists should be elevated to leaders of the pack, and media outlets should be told to take them seriously. The strategy backfired royally. On April 23rd, 2015, 2 weeks after Hillary Clinton officially declared for presidential campaign, her staff sent out a group message with information for a strategy call. The email included as an attachment a memo for the DNC discussion. Now, this article in Salon includes this memo. I want folks to prepare themselves to look at this because this is one of the memos that was published by WikiLeaks, the Democratic National Committee, April 7th, 2015. It reads, friends, this memo is intended to outline the strategy and goals a potential Hillary Clinton presidential campaign would have regarding the 2016 Republican presidential field. Highlighted. That's my part here. Clearly, most of what is contained in this memo is the work the DNC is already doing. They were already doing this stuff prior to 2016. The exercise is intended to put those ideas to paper. Our goals and strategy, reading on, our hope is that the goal of a potential HRC campaign in the DNC would be one in the same, to make whoever the Republicans nominate unpalatable to a majority of the Democrats, or to the electorate, I'm sorry. We've outlined 3 strategies to obtain our goal. Force all Republican candidates to lock themselves into extreme conservative positions that will hurt them in a general election. Oh my God, what could go wrong with that idea? Undermine any credibility trust Republican presidential candidates have to make inroads to our coalition or independence. Muddy the waters on any potential attack lodged against HRC. And it goes on to talk specifically about Pied Piper candidates. There are 2 ways to approach the strategies mentioned above. I know I'm reading a lot. I'm going to let the doc here talk in just a minute. The first is to use the field as a whole to inflict damage on itself, similar to what happened to Mitt Romney in 2012. The variety of candidates is a positive here, and many of the lesser known can serve as a cudgel, that language again, to move the more established candidates further to the right. In this scenario, we don't want to marginalize the more extreme candidates, but make them more Pied Piper candidates who actually represent the mainstream of the Republican Party, which they do now, for God's sake. That's what happened. Pied Piper candidates include, but aren't limited to, this is what they were talking about back then, Ted Cruz, Donald Trump, and of course, another nut, Ben Carson. We need to be elevating the Pied Piper candidates so that they are leaders of the pack and tell the press to take them seriously. Okay, so let me take that down off screen because I don't normally read that often, but that's big news, Doc. And people, I don't even know if this gets reported, if at all. Oh yeah, by the way, again, that came out of WikiLeaks, and Assange is sitting over there in Belmarsh prison in London for publishing stuff like that. We wouldn't know about this, but we would suspect it. I mean, the doc's seen crap like this for decades. But we wouldn't have this memorandum if it wasn't for WikiLeaks. So Doc,
Yeah.
take it from here.
Well, that's right. And you know, everything you said, you know, should be huge news, but instead we are watching horses parading in front of Buckingham Palace, and we're seeing
Yes.
church services of the Queen and stuff beyond, I think, what is of interest to anyone. The importance of the Queen, certainly, you know, interesting person. Thank you very much. But there's other stuff that we ought to talk about and know about. I haven't seen this. I mean, that's the nice thing about Podcast by George is you snap up stuff and you share it with your viewers and listeners and podcast addicts that should be on top of the news on the 3 or 4 cable channels and on public radio and other sources, because, you know, maybe the Democratic National Committee could also create an app to try to improve the Iowa caucuses and make them work better, because they only worked really great for, you know, 45 years or 44 years. And you know, let's step in there and create an app created by Hillary Clinton's former staff people, which has reduced the chances of Iowa getting back the first in the nation caucuses. So the Democratic National Committee for the Democratic Party is, you know, kind of a big risk factor. I'm not sure that they're, you know, understanding the consequences or, you know, essentially what they're doing, because certainly with this, they have created a powerful conservative force in America that was much weaker before all of this.